for 200 plus years, and we get to be alive at a time to see it fall. I believe in the power of one person working as a team with other Christian patriots can have massive impact in reversing this ungodly culture. I believe that we have an omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent God that has put his hand on this moment in time to deny the timeline of the enemy and is about to heal our land. This is Rick, your host, and I believe that God has called me to empower Christian patriots with truth. Join us now for the Blessed to Teach show, and let's see what God is doing today. Welcome, it's Rick B2T here. We're going to be powering Christian patriots with truth the next hour or so. I tell you what, a lot going on, and Maduro getting arrested is a real big controversy about why did Trump do this? With everybody thinking they're smarter than Trump, which I just think is laughable, and it's a big topic we're going to be talking about. But the real answer to that is kind of what Clinton. Remember Clinton was famous for saying, It's the economy, stupid, right? Well, the reason all this is happening and the way they got control of everything, it's because of election fraud, stupid, right? And we're going to be talking about how important that is when there's 72 countries got taken over and everything they've done and how they almost destroyed this country was because of election fraud, right? So we're going to be digging into that. And this is also the J6 anniversary, 5-year anniversary. 5 years ago when they did the biggest false flag covering up the crime of the century, which was November 3rd, 2020. And then they had a cover-up of the cover-up with the select committee, right? The unselect committee is what Trump called it. So that is, and they destroyed all their evidence. They're in trouble. So this is a fun time to dig into all this type of stuff. So let's dig in right now to some breaking news. And this is the judge has Maduro come in, and he cuts off the ousted Venezuelan dictator Maduro as he tries to defend himself in court. So he's basically trying to say, I'm innocent, I'm the president of Venezuela. And he's going, dude, you're just doing a plead right now. And he pleaded not guilty. His wife pleaded not guilty. And he's basically sitting there. And then what the funniest part about it is when he read him his rights. He goes, I'm unaware. Oh, I don't know what those are. It's like, what? Rights? I'm used to socialists and dictatorship. You give rights to people in your country that aren't in leadership? That's a bizarre. So that's part of the discussion. You'll see some of this discussion here where he says, I'm the president of Venezuela. I captured up my home in Caracas, Venezuela. Maduro told the judge. And later he said, there will be time and place to get to all of this. Right? And he says he did not know of these rights. When the judge informed Maduro of his rights, he reportedly replied that he did not know of his rights. So that's kind of interesting. That's what dictators don't understand, rights for actual citizens. He put 90% of the people in poverty. And that didn't even count the 8 million, not 800,000, 8 million people that had to leave the country. So he stole from everybody, except for if you're in a government office. Right? That is a pure example of dictatorship, where he enriches himself and those around him while all of them starve. I mean, literally, people were eating their own pets, their dogs, their cats, and eventually rats. He did not care that he starved the people, and this is why the Venezuelan people are all rejoicing. They're all rejoicing. While this dictator, and really, he was a puppet of Cuba as well as China. And so he brought in all the adversaries of the West, and that included Iran, and included the Chinese as well as Russians, all putting their bases there. They had Russian air defense systems that fortunately we were able to take out, but when we rescued Maduro. But we're going to be digging into a lot more detail here. It'll be real interesting. But do you know of these rights? I did not know of these rights until now. So he is getting he's getting due process. Even Maduro, right, who starved his own people, is getting a due process here. How do you plead? I am innocent. I'm a decent man. I am president. Defense lawyer, it's a plea of not guilty to all counts. And Bridget, he gets into Bridget as well. And I'm going to go here to the actual X post here, and it says his courtroom deputy, she will arraign you. So that's there's a little more detail here that you'll find in the show notes. Again, all my show notes are free. Everything I show you on my screen, which I love to do, because it makes sure that we have sauce for everything, right? So you want the sauce every single time after the show, the morning after the show, you're going to get a summary of the show as well as every single link that you can share and be a digital soldier. Make sure you just go to blessed2teach.com, blessed with the number 2teach.com, and there is where you're going to want to get the free show notes, sign up with your email there, and you'll get that each morning. So make sure you're doing that. Okay, so there's another thing I wanted to get to here before we jump into the sponsor for today. But who tipped off Uncle Sam? This is Patrick Byrne. I really recommend a follow there. A lot of people have just ignored this guy, and he is, to me, the tip of the spear of helping identify and find out exactly how the 2020 election was rigged. So who tipped off Uncle Sam on which hideouts Nicolas Maduro was going to on Friday? Delcy Rodriguez tipped off the CIA handler. So basically it's Delcy Rodriguez, and her brother is a Rodriguez as well, kind of runs the whole cartel, and her brother runs the election fraud machines. So they have the real guilty people that are running the country now. But they know that as Trump took the CIA handlers that were basically doing the opposite, destroying our country, has them under control. So this will be real interesting, dangerous, because the guilty people that were helping Maduro do all this, and really the main operators, Delcy Rodriguez and her brother, are in their same positions, but she's been elevated to president, right? But she and the CIA hoped it would win her the nod to be the new president of Venezuela. So they're saying, hey, we'll give up Maduro and try to keep her in power. But I think Trump's plan is to just quickly get to an election without the Smartmatic machines. And that will be military-led with, just like we're going to probably have in November, with voter ID counting at the precinct level. And obviously the Venezuelans will trounce Delcy if she tries to run. Truly, Delcy ratted on Maduro. So this is big news that Delcy, which is probably the most evil of the people there, his vice president, and her brother, another Delcy, another Rodriguez, ratted out Maduro. So that's kind of breaking news here tonight. But we're going to get into a lot more detail about why this thing is way bigger than just oil and the Monroe Doctrine, which is really the major reason Trump's doing all this, right? It's the Monroe Doctrine. That is basically you're protecting your entire hemisphere, and you're not gonna have any enemies in your hemisphere, right? That is operating, and the major enemies being Russia and China, and Iran. You can fit into there as well. But we're gonna dig into that in more detail. But first, I want to get to a sponsor, guys. This is fun. If you're on a New Year's resolution to actually lose weight, like most of us are, right? I can tell you, there's a way to do it without having to adjust your diet massively. And what we're really finding is everything that Rob and my brother and I have been talking about lately with the hydrogen and with the frequencies and red light added to that combination is amazing. There's people, Dr. Artis talks all about this huge red light therapy, like little thing you can get inside, or these big panels, and they can be $15,000, or these panels, even the cheaper ones could be $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, right? Well, we wanted to give you a full body red light experience for way less than that, And in fact, it's $697. And if you use the B2T code, you get 15% off that. Brings you lower than $600, like in the $590 areas. A full red light bed. It also comes with a bottle of Exodus for the hydrogen in your body, and then a frequency card for losing weight. You take all those three things together. There's nothing like it, and you'll find that link down below here. Right, I do have a link that's called blessedteach.com, blessed@2teach.com/mat, M-A-T. So these are red light therapy mats that are just a full body. They're awesome. I have one. My wife and I use this. And again, the idea is you have the red light, you have the frequencies of the keto frequency card, you have the 7 biblical ingredients we talked about all the time with Exodus, and then a prayer guide. All of this together. And again, this is scientifically proven that red light helps with weight loss, guys. So you add all these things together. It's been phenomenal. We did this at Christmas and we sold out immediately, and we sold out the second batch immediately. We just got some new ones in, so don't delay. Again, it's a red light full body mat with the card for the frequencies and the supplement as well. It's a full body thing as well. Again, a complete way that you get this. Again, it's a phenomenal program, guys, with all of this together of New Year's Reset. That $697 if you go to, once you put it in your cart and you go, again, if you compare that to the $7,000 thing, look at this, $7,000 for these light panels, or just going on diets. You can spend thousands of years on diets. This is for only $592, I think it is. Guys, this is phenomenal to be able to get this full red light mat with the card, with the bottle of Exodus. I'm excited about that. So make sure you go to blessedteach.com/mat, M-A-T. Or there's links down below in the video. All right, rest of this time, we're going to dig into the details of this. And that is what's really happening here. And if you missed the last night's show, we had Sheila Holm on talking about how important it is to be supporting Trump through this, and all these people that claim to be conservatives that are attacking Trump, including Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all blaming everything on Israel derangement syndrome, everything Israel's part. And not understanding the basics of why this isn't so important, why it's all about election fraud and how they took over big portions of the Western Hemisphere and almost took down the United States. The head of the snake is Venezuela. We're going to be talking about that, okay? And just a reminder, Obama never sought congressional authorization for these bombings. In Syria, he dropped 12,192 bombs. In Iraq, he dropped 12,095 bombs. In Libya, he dropped 496 bombs. In Yemen, 35 bombs. In Somalia, 14 bombs. Pakistan, 3 bombs. 26,172 bombs for a total 3 bombs every hour of every day. This is Obama. And he did this on purpose to create chaos everywhere. They wanted, the CIA wants chaos in everything they do, right? They want chaos, and that's what they were creating in the Middle East, so that they could have forever wars. That's exactly what Obama was helping with, and so this whole just give me a break talking about Trump not having authorization to go do an arrest of a person that was indicted, right? So this was not even a military operation from that perspective. The leaders of this was the DOJ actually going in and the Drug Enforcement Agency actually doing an arrest of a criminal, right? And so those arrests can go outside our borders. They used the military escorts. Obviously, they needed them to be able to arrest him, and they did their job. All right, here's President Trump just posted this. Now, this is interesting. Trump's been posting multiple times, like 4 times now, different things on election fraud, all after the arrest of Maduro. Why would he do that? Why would he? Because my theory's right. So I wrote a whole blog on this Sunday night and blasted it out Monday morning that talks about exactly how important this is, guys. This is the head of the snake. We should be cheering with the Venezuelans versus criticizing Trump. Okay, and we have a lot of people I went to the Reawaken tour in, a lot of people that are conservatives, and they have these podcasts, and they're taking these stance against Trump as if they're smarter than Trump, and as if they know more than Trump. And it's just laughable. It really is. But we have a lot of that going on. But that's why I keep saying, and I'm not saying it to you, I'm saying it to those people. It's election fraud, stupid, right? Just gonna keep saying that. Just like it's the economy, stupid, right? Just that whole famous line from back then. It's the election fraud, stupid. That if people do not start understanding that, and they blame Trump for trying to take over the oil, trying to be a dictator himself, it's not Christian to do this. That is incredibly silly. That is, and like Sheila talked about last night, that's talking of the enemy, right? And have such Israel derangement syndrome that everything's Israel's fault, right? Give me a break, guys. This was American enemies at our doorstep that were destroying our country, not with just drugs, but human trafficking, drug running. And then, most importantly, they cheated in our elections, not just at the federal level, but at the state level and at our local levels as well. They started at the local levels. They moved up to the state, to the federal. And they did it for 20 years. Guys, the reason our country went to heck in a handbasket over the last 20 years that you just saw that rapid decline is because we put globalists who hated our country, designed to destroy us, in our elected positions with the selection machines. Other election fraud, yes, but the primary method to flip all the close things and give it all to the globalist and into the transvestite supporting people, right, or to the transgender supporting people, right? That is done by the election machines. So I'm going to give you some logic here as we dig into this in more detail. Okay, so Trump just dropped this gem on Truth. So let me back up, because that last one was a 5-minute video right here, and it goes all over all the same like 5 different videos spliced together of the same fraudulent votes that happened. And you can see here's Trump saying, Trump just posted the video about Dominion voting machine fraud. You think the timing is coincidence? A Venezuelan military intelligence whistleblower confirmed the CIA outsourced election rigged technology like Smartmatic and Dominion from Venezuela. So he reports this whole thing about these 5,000 fraudulent votes. And that's a whole 5-minute video, so I can't play that one. But I didn't want to play this one. This is something he played. It's 1:42. Let's watch this.
This is how they stole it. This is how they stole it. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. This is how they stole it. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. This is how they stole it. La-la-la-la-la-la. This is how they stole it. This is how they stole it every time, and they're gonna try. Well, MAGA won't let it happen, so I reach for my MAGA hat and I turn it up. Me and my friends are gonna vote Donald Trump. On the car we are slated. Now MAGA's in the streets saying, Donnie, yo, we made it. Feels so good, as it should, tonight. All the MAGA red shirts and the flags waving high. Even the liberals are voting for the red side. Gotta bring your crew out, cause we need a red wave. So put your hands up, cause we ain't giving up. And let me hear MAGA say, we ain't gonna lose this time. This is how they stole it. Cause we know everything they're gonna try. This is how they stole it. Let's take our country back tonight. This is how they stole it. We'll never give it back without a fight. This is how they stole it. We ain't gonna lose this time. This is how they stole it. Cause we know everything they're gonna try. This is how they stole it. Let's take our
an older video, but you can see clearly Trump posting all these things about election fraud right after getting Maduro shows the real reason why that we went in. Okay, now there's obviously a lot of reasons here. I'm not saying that wasn't just because of the Monroe Doctrine, or it didn't have anything to do with the oil. Obviously, all those things were important. But how did they get control of it all? Right? Let me ask you just a few things. I think this is important. Is if they were going to get control of all the country in Venezuela, of the third richest country in the world back in 2020, right? How did Chavez win the election and stay even after he started putting socialism in? Well, election fraud, right? How did he get control over all the oil? Election fraud. How did he get Maduro in? Election fraud. How did he actually bring poverty to 90% and chase out 8 million people in Venezuela because of election fraud? How did they get control of the Mexican cartels to bring in all our drugs? Because of election fraud. How did he actually start doing all the human trafficking through those same cartels? Election fraud. How did they not get the pushback from the American people and the American government? Because they control many of the elected officials in the United States. How did they do that? They brought the Smartmatic machines here because of election fraud. How did they actually get control of 71 other countries besides the U.S.? Election fraud. They've been rigging elections in 72 countries. Do you see how big this is? This is the reason why we had to go in. It's the head of the snake. It's like 107 said. If there's one thing that Trump's going to be known for, the biggest thing that he could possibly accomplish out of everything he's doing, it is getting fair elections back to the United States and the rest of the world, to where they don't have cabal globalists and satanic-oriented Luciferians in there or controlled politicians. You see how big this is? And that's what I wanted to... people are missing this. There's just all this stuff about, whoa, Trump's doing this wrong and that wrong and this wrong. And they don't understand this basic thing. And so this is something that I want to really emphasize today. And I think you'll see that if you do not understand how big this election fraud is, how many... how we are infiltrated at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, and how much that's changed over 20 years to destroy our country from within on purpose, and how they did the same thing in 71 other countries, including their own. They want to make everybody like Venezuela, where only the elites were wealthy and 90% of us were starving, eating our pets, okay? And 8 million people having to move... 8 million people in Venezuela. The percentage of that is humongous. You could just think about that same thing. It would be like, 30 million of us leaving the United States and our families starving here, right? This is, no question, God's handiwork using Trump. But yet we have all these conservative anti-Trumpers now. It's all over social media. It is a poison. The Israel derangement syndrome poison, the replacement theology poison, the poison of I think I'm smarter than Trump. He's so stupid for putting Pam Bondi in there. He's so stupid for putting Kash Patel. He's so stupid for having Dan Bongino. He is so stupid. I am smarter than Trump. That's what they're all saying. Are you kidding me? This is God's anointed doing his handiwork. And we finally get control of the news. And a third of us turn against Trump. That's why I used the word stupid. It's election fraud, stupid. Okay, so let's continue. Let's continue with digging into this. Enough of a little bit of my tirade there. Okay, so let's. But boy, it's just crazy to me to see how many people really think they're smarter than Trump, right? This is why I said this guy said Trump just dropped this gem on Truth Social. This is how they stole it, the theft of 2020 election. He's flat out telling you what's coming. All this is coming out, and we're going to have military-oriented elections in November, is what I believe is going to happen, right? Why? Because we can't trust the voter rolls. The voter rolls are purposely corrupted, purposely additions made to it. We saw in New York how they added all this type of stuff, right? So anyway, we got some great people commenting on here, and I'll get some of those comments up here. Here's Days of Elijah saying, yes, many always think they need to tell Trump what or how to do it. They're not able to think outside of their tiny boxes. That's right. That is exactly right. There's a lot of other great conversations going on. I'll try to get some more up there. So comment on I can get your comment and put it up here from YouTube and from Rumble, as well as from Backstage here in the Zoom Backstage. Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to dig into this. Look at this. This is another very important video. Okay, he's got a 46-minute video talking about Venezuela, And then he has a 12-minute Cliff Notes version. And then he has this speed reader version that's 4 minutes. And this is worth the 4 minutes to understand a little bit of history about how they got control of Venezuela and what they've done with it. Let's listen.
Hello, this is the speed reader's explanation of why you need to get out and vote smart. Otherwise, Cuba, Venezuela will complete their conquest of America. You're about to learn how a dictator arose in Venezuela.
I forgot to tell you guys that this was done, I think, 9 months ago or 10 months ago. See if I can see it says October 6th, 2025. So it was actually a year and, 3 months ago or so? November, December, January, yeah. So 15 months ago. So 15 months ago, Patrick Byrne was informing everybody about exactly what happened here. And so this information needs to get out. And so I'll have links to the 12-minute version, the 46-minute version, and 12-minute version. This is vital summary information for you to understand that you're not smarter than Trump, that he knows what's going on. And you got to understand the basics of Venezuela, especially when it comes to how the Smartmatic and their selection machines, and how they took over the country to destroy their own people and give access to our enemies right in the Western Hemisphere. So let's listen.
Hello, this is the speed reader's explanation of why you need to get out and vote smart. Otherwise, Cuba, Venezuela will complete their conquest of America. You're about to learn how a dictator arose in Venezuela, survived attempts to defeat him, became an absolute dictator, enabled a mafia to become the government of Venezuela, where they seized the oil industry and the election industry, and through that are conquering the world, and who's behind it all. Here's an Instagram page of me in a government computer science center 6 years ago in Venezuela. Here's the young army officer Hugo Chavez in the 1970s. By 92, he'd become a colonel, and he attempted a coup. He was defeated and imprisoned along with his men. He got out in 94, ran for president in 98 as a real man of the people, was elected president, and began turning Venezuela into a dictatorship. People revolted against him. There was a coup against him that was temporarily successful, but he defeated it, got into power, also survived a referendum to take him out of power in 2004. And even though he only had 30 to 35% of popular support, he somehow won 58% of the vote in the referendum. We'll get back to that. He became a Fidel Castro-style dictator. Fidel was his mentor, such that by the time he died, he was recognized as a pure dictator. Now, what you need to know is while he was the dictator of Venezuela, his mafia took over the country, took over the government. It's called the Mafia of the Sons, in reference to the sons on the shoulders of the generals. The generals of the military are the heads of the mafia. Venezuela is a mafia state. The DOJ has spelled this all out nicely. Interesting to note, Iran and Hezbollah are integrated into the government through Tariq al-Azimi, of Lebanese Shia, who's in the government. Diosdado Cabello is another name to know, a close friend of Fidel Castro, of Hugo Chavez. The mastermind is a fellow named Dr. Jorge Rodriguez, a psychiatrist in the mold of Hannibal Lecter. He's the great genius behind it all, and his sister's now vice president. When this mafia took over Venezuela, they seized two things: the oil company of Venezuela, which is and they looted $4 trillion out of Venezuela while their own people starved. And they took over the election industry because that way they could never be dislodged. They sent 3 young engineers to Florida to start a company called Smartmatic, which is now under indictment. But they were sent, they formed a Delaware corporation whose mission was to come up with riggable computer electronics.
Again, guys, this is the speed reader version. This is only 4 minutes long. The 12-minute version is way better, and the 46-minute video is dynamite. It's the 46-minute version, right? It's like a lecture. So all 3 of those videos depend on if you have an urchin type, what we call starfish in our personality types, people that want detail, give them the 46-minute version, right? People that are just skimmers, give them this speed reader's 4-minute version. And then there's a 12-minute version as well. People need to understand this. Otherwise, they're not going to know it's election fraud, and they're going to start listening to Candace Owens. They're going to listen to all the anti-Israel derangement syndrome people. They're going to listen to all the black pillars, and all those people that think they're smarter than Trump, right? Let's get this information out. So let's continue here. But you can see how this is led right to Smartmatic. and these Venezuelan citizens that came to Florida, and they claim they got money from the family, but we know it's completely, this was software developed. It wasn't developed by them. It's similar to Facebook. Remember DARPA? DARPA closed down the same day Facebook opened, and the lie of Zuckerberg created this code. No, it was a DARPA code that went to Facebook. This was Venezuela Smartmatic code going to Smartmatic that went to Sequoia, and Sequoia went to Dominion. So it's in Dominion, it's in the ENS, it's in the Heart, it's in all of them, right? I've got more blogs on faithandfreedom.org, faith with the N, freedom.org, blogs that detail this out. And even the confessions of the generals, two separate generals, talking about that were basically spooks for Venezuela, that showed, and the election, well, one of them, the head of the election fraud agency in Venezuela, reported right to the guy who confessed. So remember, this video was done 18 months before, or 15 months before all this started coming out in January. So now it's all been confirmed. This is all confirmed, okay? It's election fraud, stupid. It's not Trump being stupid. It's election fraud, stupid, right? That's what I'm telling those people that think they're smarter than Trump. And the people that are saying that it's Israel derangement syndrome, that are basically saying it's Israel's was why we went into Venezuela. No, it's election fraud, stupid. I'm being very blunt here because it's election fraud, stupid. And that's not to you. That's to the people who think they're smarter than Trump, the people who have Israel derangement syndrome, the people who are blackpilling and think that Trump's doing a bad job. That is ridiculous. This is God's handiwork. Listen to Sheila Holmes detail it out in yesterday's show. It's a beautiful show. So let's continue this.
Election systems. They discovered that in Italy, a company called Olivetti had lottery terminals that they could rig, and they brought them back, and that's how they rigged the 2004 referendum. You should care because Smartmatic came in and took over the American election industry technology, integrated into it, and now just as you buy a laptop, it's always really Microsoft Windows inside. Whatever brand of election system a county buys, it's all Smartmatic junk riggable technology inside. Behind them is this Venezuelan Election Council. Behind them is the Venezuelan mafia goons and dictators. Behind them, the components come out of mainland China, and Xi Jinping says grace over it all. This has all been hidden from the U.S. government using Iran as the paymaster up and down the supply chain.
All right. Hey, sorry, guys. You're right. October 2025 was just 3 months ago. But when he originally posted this, you'll see he'll say it here that this was originally posted in October of 2024. So just FYI, sorry for that misstatement when I showed, because he reposted it a year later. Does that make sense? So this was official. This was done in October 2025. He just made a mistake by saying 2025. So October 2024, this was 15 months ago is when this video was all three of these videos, the speed reader version, right? The Cliff Notes version, as well as this. So this is important. This Jorge Rodriguez is obviously Delcy's brother. He's the one who runs the Dr. Evil. This is Dr. Evil, okay? So I'm backing up a little bit. Let's go again. Here we go.
Xi Jinping says grace over it all. This has all been hidden from the U.S. government using Iran as the paymaster up and down the supply chain. This is all very well understood, to the point that the Venezuelan government's threatening other presidents who try to say anything because they installed them too. The punchline is over the last 20 years, the Venezuelan mafia, with the assistance of China and Iran, has been rigging elections in 72 nations across Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. So now you've learned how a dictator came to power in Venezuela, how he survived, turned it into a dictatorship. He seized the oil company, he seized the election industry, and with that has conquered the world. Messages to the DOJ: you know where I stand. I take responsibility for it all. I do have security concerns, but maybe you don't want to see this succeed. You folks don't want to see. Message to real Americans: help me out. Share this video. Sign up for $5 a month at the America Project. If you want to learn more, there's a 12-minute version and a full college lecture, 46-minute version of this lecture below. And you got to get out and vote smart. Thank you.
All right, so guys, really suggest that. So make sure you're on the show notes. Again, blessedtoteach.com, right down there below, blessedtoteach.com, and just sign up on that front page for the show notes. It's free, and you're going to get an email each morning of every single link I have. You can be a digital soldier like never before. But I really suggest that you get this out, not just the 4-minute, but the 12-minute and 46-minute, or give somebody a choice by just linking this above. But this clearly shows, as you get into the details of this, that Delcy Rodriguez, who's the vice president, who now is the president, is the cabal, right? And so getting Maduro out of there was a big step, because it shows that, hey, we're going to have new elections here shortly, right? And I think now the CIA's, the rogue parts of the CIA are trying to fool Trump of keeping the enemy in power. So it'll be important, but I think Trump's smarter than them, right? And that he's you keep your enemies close, your friends close, and your enemies closer, right? It's Sun Tzu, art of the war type stuff, and he's no dummy. So I believe the CIA is probably the one who wants to put the what do you call it, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, because she has very big ties to the CIA and to the deep state. And so she may be, and Trump pretty much said no, she's not going to be the person. So I think they're going to get elections and try to get a true patriot in there versus a CIA-controlled asset. Anybody who wins a Nobel Peace Prize, we know lately, is people like Obama, right? So are we going to trust the Nobel Peace Prize? No, we're not. Of course we're not. All right. So this is what I put together this Sunday. Why was Nicolas Maduro captured on January 3rd, 2026? It's the election fraud, stupid. Again, I'm not calling you guys stupid. I know you guys are intelligent and smart. Almost everybody what runs this program understands what the anons, what they say. That's why this brings in the spiritual war part of this. The Let's Teach show does, as well as what the anons are looking at and what the news is saying. All those brought together for you guys to be really intelligent and have the show notes and be digital soldiers. I appreciate every one of you. But where I'm talking to all the people thinking they're smarter than Trump and all the people with Israel derangement syndrome. It's the election fraud, stupid. Okay? So let's get into this in a little more detail. On January 3rd, U.S. Special Forces carried out a bold pre-dawn raid in Caracas, capturing Nicolas Maduro, everybody knows this, and his wife, Celia Flores, as the resident of the Futura Tiuna military base. So they're in a military base. That's what makes this so much more impressive if you think about that. President Trump announced a successful operation on Truth Social, confirming that Maduro, one of the world's most wanted fugitives, was flown out of Venezuela to face federal charges from the 2020 indictment for narco-terrorism and cocaine trafficking. So again, this was a 2020, isn't that interesting, indictment. The public narrative focuses on drugs and corruption, but many Christian patriots recognize a more profound truth. This strike dismantled a global election rigging empire rooted in Venezuelan Smartmatic technology. We know that licensed software to Dominion voting systems, the very machines tied to the contested 2020 election. Remember, Dominion's in every one of the swing states. And that's where Eric Coomer is saying, I can take out Trump. Right, and so on an Antifa call that Joe Altman actually heard and testified under oath that Eric Coomer said that, and Eric Coomer's suing him. And boy, is Eric Coomer, who sued also for defamation. He sued Joe Altman. He sued multiple people, including Mike Lindell. That is all going to backfire now as this comes out. It's a beautiful thing. Yes, this extraction was partially about drugs streaming into the country and control over the oil and critical minerals such as silver and more in the United States hemisphere. However, how did Chavez Maduro get control of all this oil and minerals? How did they get control of the Mexican cartels and so many politicians in the U.S. to distribute their drugs? It's through election fraud. If it wasn't for the election fraud, they wouldn't have 90% poverty in Venezuela. If it wasn't for the election fraud, they would have put socialism in there and starved all their people. 8 million people would not have left. All the politicians that they started taking all the money in that they bought off in the United States would not have allowed all the human trafficking and drug trafficking and gun running coming into this country. The Mexican cartels wouldn't have gotten under control of Venezuela as they are now. As believers, we stand on God's word. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. That's Proverbs 14:34. When leaders steal the people's voice through fraud, they rebel against the Lord who ordains authority. Maduro's capture is a powerful reminder that God is exposing hidden darkness, for nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is there anything secret that will not be known and come to light. That's Luke 8:17. I believe we're seeing that like never before across the world right now. Is that right there? I'm going to read that again. It's Luke 8:17. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. All these secret societies that took control of our world, they're being exposed right now as we speak. And they wanted, and they got election fraud to put the secret society people in charge. Right, the criminals running the hen in the hen house, right? I mean, let's see, and here it is, and raising up warriors to restore truth and justice in our time. So here's some key facts about Maduro's capture, right? Again, January 3rd, we know that the elite Delta Force commandos executed the raid. There's some cool videos out there showing exactly how this happened. Again, it was because of a 2020 U.S. indictment. This is what all the Democrats are freaking out, and all the liberals are freaking out, basically saying Trump didn't have constitutional authority. Give me a break. This was actually, he did. This was an actual person that almost all, not even the Biden administration recognized Maduro, right? It's like 36 countries saying, we don't recognize this. This is a U.S. indictment, right? So they have all kinds of transactions. They have so much information about his actual fraudulent, that he was basically running the narco cartel, right? Narco terrorism is what he was indicted for. Maduro accused of leading the Cartel de Solos, and that was part of that video. It talks about this cartel of the sun, right? This is like worship of the sun. You can see where this is coming. This is all coming back to the spiritual war that we're in. Maduro and his wife were transported to New York in federal court. We talked about this, their non-guilty pleas. Celebrations erupted among Venezuelan exiles and American patriots. The Venezuelans are going, dudes, how can you not support this? My goodness. All right, global reaction, condemnation from China, Russia, and Iran, praise from freedom-loving nations, right? So you have the freedom-loving nations going, this is awesome. But then you have these black pill people here and the Israel derangement syndrome people and those thinking they're smarter than Trump, all condemning it for one reason or another. And who are they siding with? China, Russia, and Iran, and the New York Times, and Politico, and the Washington Post, and the MSNBC. So we have conservatives that have been in this fight with us that have now got mind rot. That's what Charlie would call it. The mind rot of Israel derangement syndrome, or the mind rot of being black-pilled and thinking that Trump's evil and Trump's doing everything wrong when he's doing God's handiwork as an anointed person. Here's election ties. Insiders, including reports amplified by Patrick Byrne and Emerald Robertson. So Emerald Robertson has done a great job. She had inside information, and she actually got to interview all the whistleblowers from Venezuela. We have like 7 or 8 whistleblowers that are all part and understand exactly how the code works and how they use the virtual machines to switch the votes out of Serbia. That's where the servers were in 2020 and 2022 to completely rig our elections. Now, that was used way before that as well, guys, for 20 years. They were doing it out of Venezuela directly for a while before they moved their headquarters of the selection machine rigging for all 72 countries to Serbia, right? Venezuela's Smartmatic origins all linked to there with the fraud capabilities licensed by Dominion in the 2022 election. Again, it's not just Dominion. It's also HART. So there's actually a chip in there. And again, guys, a modem, you think of a modem that you used to put in the back of your machine potentially as a modem, right? Now they're smaller than a piece of rice. You can hide them on the motherboards and on the chips within this hardware. So what you have is you have all these chips that get put into these machines that are actually made in China. That's right. With the ability to do virtual machine fraudulent vote flipping and all the other fraudulent things they can do with a virtual machine. And it's put together in Taiwan. So because it's made in Taiwan, and they would say, hey, this goes to HART, this goes to ES&S, this goes to Dominion. So all 3 of the machines that we use, they're like 90% of the United States, all have the ability of the Smartmatic type software, so Kia, all the way back to, and again, they even recorded some of it in different languages, but it all has the same basis of how to do the virtual machine to cheat, and also take fraudulent ballots and take it into a voter roll. That's why they have to have bad voter rolls. That's why New York every so often will insert fake people, fake voters all the time in their voter rolls and take it. And that's why they keep the dead people on there. That's why they have the illegals there. Most illegals don't vote. They want to stay in the country. They don't want to break the laws, but they get assigned votes from the selection machines and all the fraudulent ballots that are in the mail-in ballots. So once you start understanding this, you see, my goodness, they have almost took over our country from within with the Trojan horse of selection machines. So Maduro's rise and the roots of controversial voting empire under Chavez. So it's always so important to understand what happened to Chavez. When Nicolas Maduro took power in 2013, after Chavez's death, he inherited more than a failing economy. He inherited a sophisticated system designed to control elections. So they had a horrible economy. You know, when you have a bad economy, it's hard to get elected. But they won every time. Why? Because of the selection machines. Yes, Chavez had commissioned early Smartmatic platforms that included features such as remote access and hidden manipulation tools. Patrick Byrne has laid it out in detailed video series, how this Cuba-Venezuelan alliance built a network to influence governments through rigged votes. So I would just suggest, again, that's that 46-minute video and the 12-minute video and the 4-minute video. Just blast those everywhere, guys. Blast those everywhere. We have to let people know about this so that we can get these conservatives back on the MAGA train. Right? We have so many people. Candace Owens is telling people not to vote. Okay? That shows you how Satan's got in there and put her on the side of our enemies. Right? Tucker Carlson, Israel derangement syndrome completely. And then tons of old Anons and reawakened tour beautiful people, Israel derangement syndrome, or I'm smarter than Trump. Right? You got those four things going on that we have to fight until people understand the significance of the amount of vote flipping these machines can do. Mike Lindell was right all the time. He just didn't go about it the right way to let people, to actually show people how it worked. Under Maduro, the operation grew dramatically. Servers were moved to Serbia and China to avoid detection, primarily out of Serbia. Fractional vote flipping and real-time adjustments became standard. With this fact now being fully established, and that's what most people don't know. It's fully established based on the generals, based on the whistleblowers. I mean, Patrick Byrne was taking care of 30 people. That was like 7, 8 of these whistleblowers and their families. And he blew through his $80 million worth of net worth just to protect these people overseas before he brought him into the United States in another dramatic story, a whole other story. We know the real reason that Trump has put so much emphasis on Venezuela, similar to the quote of Clinton to Bush before his election win. The answer to the question of why Trump took out Maduro is it's election fraud, stupid. As Christian patriots, we are called to hate what is evil and cling to what is good. Romans 12:9. Manipulating the people's voice is evil, and God is now bringing it to the light for judgment. Woo! Here's another section. Smartmatic, from Venezuelan origins to global scrutiny. Smartmatic launched in Venezuela in the late 1990s, initially presented as a modern voting solution, but under Chavez and Maduro, it evolved into a powerful instrument of control with hidden code that could alter the tallies. Now, if you click this here, you're going to find a whole nother section where I detail out how exactly in the different blog they switched to votes with virtual machines. And I explained that at a high level, but it gets in a lot more detail. Delays result or inflate turnout without leaving evident traces. Fractional flipping, shifting as little as 0.5 in key districts was enough to swing tight races. This technology spread through the license deals, reaching Dominion systems used across America. Emerald Robinson and Patrick Byrne have highlighted Venezuelan whistleblowers, tons of them, guys. This is it's well established, non-deniable anymore. With all the whistleblowers show you exactly how it's done. All the evidence that we have of exactly how the virtual machines work. And it's all coming. That's why Trump posted all those on Truth Social about election fraud. And he's been very bold about the 2020 being rigged. I have highlighted investigative whistleblowers who briefed teams close to President Trump and Elon Musk, explaining how the network targeted 2020 but was disrupted by patriots in 2024. I'll talk to you about that. It's awesome. Finally, Susie Wiles woke up to this problem only after the three musketeers went and talked to him. Emerald Robertson talks about that being Patrick Byrne, General Flynn, and the Venezuelan whistleblower, the main one. Right? Those three finally got to Trump. And after Susie Wiles finally allowed that to happen. And our CIA tried to stop this. Many people in our government tried to stop this. People underneath Tulsi Gabbard tried to stop this. And we knew this 5 years ago. But we've had the swamp keep it from coming out. But it's all under God's timing. It's gonna all be in the perfect timing, right? So we talked about that briefed. Explaining how the network targeted 2020 was disrupted by patriots in 2024. That's why they literally melted the servers. You have a server and it has to have a ton of fans going at the same time and cooling mechanisms on the servers, right? Especially these big search centers, right? So our cyber command, Space Force type people, the best of the best, actually were able to get control of the Serbian net room, the whole server room in there, huge room where they were doing all the vote flipping for 72 countries, right? And they do what they do, they call overclocking of the server. So the server gets really hot, and then they turn off the fan of the server. And it gets so hot, it literally melts the server. So it melts the motherboard and the chips. It literally melts. It's called, they melted down the servers. That was like 1 to 3 days before the election of 2024. Guys, we were this close to having Kamala and Tim Walz as our president. We would never find out what happened in Minneapolis. I would be in a gulag for sure or dead. Anybody speaking out against them that close. We just like we were saved by the Lord in 2016, we were saved in 2024 again. And for those who think they're all smarter than Trump, just think what we got saved from. We serve a God who declares, "You shall not steal," in Exodus 20:15. Stealing an election is theft on a national scale, actually a worldwide scale is what it is. Now, this next section gets into Chavez's vision, building a network of influence. This is really how he got control. So Chavez saw early how electronic voting could secure permanent power. This is the key. This is the permanent power that the cabal of globalists have on our country in the United States, and how they have that control in other countries as well. Everybody who's using Dominion and Smartmatic and derivatives like ES&S and HART. And who helped get that all out to the other nations? It was USAID, our own CIA, which is basically USAID is a black budget for the CIA. That's what Doge went and dismantled, right? He said it was like an apple, but it wasn't an apple with a worm in it. There were so many worms. There was no apple. It was all worms, right? So that's the way Elon explained USAID. And USAID helped, hey, let's modernize your voting machines. Let's modernize your voting infrastructure. And they would go put these Smartmatic type software, no matter what hardware it was, what company it was, into these machines. And our own CIA government helped Chavez / Maduro / China / Iran / Russia take over basically as part of the cabal of evil, right? And even working with our CIA and the intelligence agencies, all kind of working together to basically have the globalists take over. They know they can't get to one world government or one world currency with a strong United States. They had to take us out. And so the globalists worked with their enemies, if you will, other globalists, to basically destroy Trump, destroy the United States. And that's what Hugo Chavez was doing way back in 2005 in his fraudulent election. He saw early how electronic voting could secure permanent power. He knew after he put socialism in and he starved all his people that he couldn't get reelected. So he had to put the fraudulent machines in, the selection machines. He directed Smartmatic engineers to embed remote update protocols, falsely marketing as safeguards for democracy. See how that, we need to protect our democracy, as the Democrats say, as they're basically trying to protect the government institutions that are controlled by the cabal of globalists, right? Chavez forced alliances in Nicaragua, Bolivia, and beyond, using those countries as tested grounds to perfect the system. So here he is, 2005, perfecting the system to maintain control and steal the country from their people, starve their people out, 90% poverty, 8 million people displaced, eating their cats, eating their dogs, eating rats, starving to death. He doesn't care. Can't get formula for the babies. It's crazy how evil this is and how many people are actually supporting Maduro and not Trump right now. In our own movement. Because they have Israel derangement syndrome, or they're black-pilled, or they think they're smarter than Trump. It's because of the election fraud, stupid. Okay? That's what I tell those people. These early seeds grew into Maduro's sprawling operation. As believers, we remember Psalm 33:12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Nations that reject righteousness and embrace deceit invite judgment. Venezuela's collapse and Maduro's fall bear witnesses to this truth. Guys, this is a spiritual war. The Lord's standards have been set, and this is all coming out. How Venezuela voting tech spread internationally. Now, this is important because this is how we have seen the world become so corrupt and invite migration of Muslims all over into Europe and all that. Why? Because those election machines were selection machines. Venezuelan teams operating under diplomatic cover and trained workshops installed tainted systems worldwide. This is like that Eric Coomer guy who's sitting there, hey, I'll train you, Chicago. One of the first big elections that they flipped on a federal basis was getting Obama to beat Hillary in 2008. That's amazing. And Chavez was basically bragging that he was going to be the person to get the first African-American president in the United States. Why? Because he had selection machines. They were Dominion selection machines in Chicago when Obama beat Hillary. They mapped foreign networks and for weaknesses and maintained control through overseas servers in Serbia and China. Suspicious patterns, sudden turnout spikes, last-minute reversals appeared in elections across continents. In America, Dominion machines scanned licensed Smartmatic code, operated the battleground states, fueling years of investigation. God calls us to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves in Matthew 10:16. Patriots who exposed this were wise, shining light where darkness tried to hide. So I know people criticize General Flynn a lot. They criticize Patrick Byrne. You know, Patrick Byrne definitely was working for the CIA. We know that. But you can't, and again, General Flynn was military intelligence, which is also linked highly with the CIA, right? So it's these guys, these spooks, a lot of these guys that have that, what they call spooks, right? CIA intelligence officers, often can't be trusted. But you can't take down the system without some of those inside guys telling you what's going on. And so I really believe that we can trust General Flynn and Patrick Byrne. Now, they're not believers. Flynn kind of says he's Catholic, and he's kind of there. Byrne, when I interviewed him about his faith, his faith was stronger. He understands the evil of Islam, for instance, and the difference between their hatred of people and not having and being completely against Western values and even our Constitution, the Sharia law, how it's so against anybody that doesn't think just like they do, with no freedom of religion, no freedom of speech, especially for women, right? No speech whatsoever. So, but anyway, I just want to make sure you guys know that these guys are patriots, though. Right? We go hand in hand with a lot of people that aren't believers, but to fight for freedom of religion. I always talk about that. We can't segment ourselves so much down to where if our president's not a pastor, we can't support him. Cyrus was empowered in Isaiah 45. Trump became President 45, Isaiah 45. That's why many people wrote books about Trump being the modern day Cyrus. And there's coins right now with both Cyrus and Trump on them, right? Trump's not perfect Christian, of course. Doesn't mean that he's not being used in a mighty way, just like Cyrus was used in a mighty way. The U.S. operation targeting more than drugs. The raid severed critical supply lines and communications channels, seized assets, and jammed satellite links, triggered panic and defections inside Maduro's regime. So a public framed as counter-narcotics mission, the operation scope aligns with dismantling foreign threats to election sovereignty. That's why it's more than drugs. It's way more than oil. It's way bigger than that. This is the Monroe Doctrine as a whole, that the selection machines almost destroyed our entire hemisphere. The globalists almost took over America and all of South America, North America. The entire hemisphere was going to be globalized. And their plans was really evil, guys. They were going to let the Mexican cartels just wipe us out for 3 or 4 years. And again, because we are all so armed, an army has a hard time against us. But you put a bunch of blackouts and starvation and a bunch of cartels, there would have been complete anarchy in the United States. That was their plan. Courageous Venezuelan generals, engineers, and officials risked everything to rebuild the network. This is so important. I can't believe how many of people in our movement don't understand the Venezuelan whistleblowers. It's well documented, but people want to talk about Israel, or they want to talk about Trump should be arresting people. Guys, we've got to expose this first. It's vital. It is vital. The whole Russia thing is going to be the first arrest of the big political people in the United States. Hillary, Obama, they're going down. But we have to understand that they were put in place. Obama was put in place because of the selection machines. Way back in 2008. All started. Courageous Venezuelan generals, engineers, and officials risked everything to rebuild the network. Some were smuggled to safety and briefed U.S. authorities. Patrick Byrne and other patriots have faithfully amplified their testimonies. These brave souls remind us of Esther 4:14. Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. God positions his people to stand against tyranny. So I believe many of us, guys, you guys are being digital soldiers of this. Just make sure you're thumbsing this up, right? You're subscribing, you're forwarding this on, and other programs like this that are speaking truth and supporting Trump as a modern day Cyrus versus all the black pillars, versus all the Israel derangement syndrome people, versus all those that think they're smarter than Trump, and obviously versus the cabal on the left, right? 2020, the U.S. election, questions of foreign influence. Licensed Smartmatic technology inside Dominion machines allegedly enabled subtle vote shifts in swing states. Not even allegedly, guys. It's very well documented. The virtual machine fires up there. It's technology that's been available since the 2000s, right? So 2005 was the perfect thing that goes undetected. You can fire a virtual machine up. It can do a lot of types of things and it goes away. And it doesn't leave a trace if you do it right. That's exactly what they've done. Just enough to change outcomes without triggering widespread alarms. Patriot mobilized, learned the tactics, and blocked repeats in later elections. With Maduro now in custody, legal proceedings may bring even greater revelation. So that is most likely he's going to talk. And everything that Patrick Burns detailed out in his 46-minute video, which I highly recommend, is going to be shown to be absolutely provable through all the whistleblowers and the testimony of the two generals and now Maduro. We trust Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will. God is turning events to restore justice. I believe he's using Trump to restore justice. Right? I know some people are saying, well, now he's talking about taking over Greenland. Well, no, he's talking about being the security for Greenland, right? Which is part of the Monroe Doctrine. It just makes sense, guys. If we don't do that, the country is going to be taken over, and the country of the United States is the most evangelic of any nation in the world, where most missionaries are sent out from here. God used America in a mighty way, and he could use it, and that's going to all go away if we don't protect ourselves with things like the Monroe Doctrine. What's Maduro's capture means for future elections. This historic takedown exposes deep vulnerabilities in election voting systems and promises further investigation to every collaborator, corporate executives, officials, and enablers. So guys, all this insider trading that's allowed in the Congress, well, most of those people are selected. Lessons for protecting our sacred vote. Return to proven safeguards. We know this. Paper ballots, hand count, strict voter ID, single-day voting, and counting at the precinct level. Most people miss that, guys. It's one thing to have one-day voting, voter ID, paper ballots, but you can't move the ballots and count them somewhere else because that's where the fraud will happen, right? You get to count them right there at the precinct level, right? That's another key part of this. Ban machines with foreign-linked code. No question. My goodness. Why in the world are we having Smartmatic software run our elections? Require fully open source software, decentralized storage. I'd say no, let's take this with ballots completely. But I do think that if we have open source software that versus this black box stuff that they won't tell you about, well, the reason they won't tell you about it. Require fully open source software, decentralized storage, and real-time bipartisan audits. And Deuteronomy 16:20 commands, justice and only justice you shall follow. Again, I think we should be all paper ballots, but again, there are some suggestions about open source software if you're going to use anything. Common questions about Maduro's capture and election integrity. Here's some questions that people have been asking. Was Maduro arrest really just about drugs? I think I've answered that pretty strong, right? Publicly, yes. Rooted in the 2020 narco-terrorism charges. So that was a legal reason why he went after Maduro. But many patriots see the larger target as ending Venezuela's role in global election interference via Smartmatic technology. That's what this is really about, guys. That's how they took over the Mexican cartels. That's how they're doing drug trafficking in human trafficking. That's how they control our politicians. That's how they were about ready to destroy our country and destroy and take over the entire world. Did Venezuelan software rig the 2020 U.S. election? Whistleblowers and investigators like Patrick Byrne and Emerald Robinson show how Smartmatic Dominion licensing enabled foreign access and manipulation. Ongoing revelations will confirm more. Now, they were actually using VPNs out of Italy and Germany. You've probably heard about a lot of that. And that fooled people. That's part of the, but all the actual switching was happening out of Serbia. Did Venezuelan software rig, why capture Maduro alive instead of other options, right? Extraction allows full persecution and potential cooperation, which could expose the entire network. So I think that's part of it. They're just going to try to get confirmation from what the two generals that have blown the whistles, all the 5 or 6, 7, 8 whistleblowers that we have in detention that actually coded this stuff, including the head musketeer, right? And that is going to be amazing. How can Christians fight for election integrity? Pray without ceasing. Guys, this is a spiritual war. You have authority in Christ, right? 1 Thessalonians 5:17 talks about pray without ceasing, right? And even Ephesians 6:18 says, pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests, right? That is an important time to be in prayer and not spending too much time flipping through your TikToks or X or Telegram or whatever. Spend some of that time pray without ceasing. Speak the truth boldly. Guys, we've got to let people know what this is really about. Support Trump. Let's quit the blackpilling. Let's quit thinking we're smarter than Trump. Let's quit listening to people like that or speak boldly of what they're doing. They're actually separating the movement, right? That's the enemy's plan. Support honest leaders and demand transparent reforms. We need a lot more people run for office that love the Lord, right? That love their country and are not these, transgender supporting progressives that are being used to destroy us from within. We are the salt and light. Matthew 5:13-16 talks about that. We can be the salt and light of the earth by getting this truth out. That's why I'm telling. Please forward this. Share this video. Make sure you thumbs it up, subscribe. All that stuff helps the numbers quite a bit. What does the Bible say about corrupt leadership? Proverbs 29:2 says, with the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. This is a key verse. This is a good one for your memory verse. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. What have these selection machines done? The wicked rule us at our school board level, our local elections, our state elections, and our national elections. For 20 years, they've been flipping votes with these Smartmatic-based software that went to Sequoia, that went to Dominion, that's in the Heart machines, that's in the ES&S machines, that's in the Dominion machines, right? It's all there, guys, in all our counties nearly. It's crazy how much control that we gave criminals in Venezuela, and basically run by China now through Serbia. And they do transfer payments in Iran. So Iran oil, they would act like this guy overpays for oil, this guy underpays for oil. And that way you don't have in the SWIFT system ability to track all the fraudulent stuff that's going on. Transfer payments on Iran. You had China helping with setting up Serbia. Our own CIA, Brennan, being part of this whole Serbia operation, right? Brennan is the converted Muslim who hates America, globalist who hates us. Just so beautiful that this is all coming out. Restoring trust in God's gift of self-governance. So rebuilding confidence demands strong laws against foreign interference, investment, and secure infrastructure, and widespread education on biblical citizenship. Whistleblowers claim they have been altering elections in 72 countries. That was a shocker when General Flynn was in there interviewing them, understanding all the details, how they were started at the local level and then stole our elections there, and that's why all the freaks started coming into our school boards, and they started teaching our kids all this crazy stuff. And then all of a sudden it goes into those state levels, and they master that, and they move in 2008, get Obama elected, and put the infiltrator in chief in there. And then we have our congressional, not our state Congress, our state House and Senates all have globalist selected people in there. Our governors selected. I even believe people like Abbott, who seem to be helped with Trump, but does all this other stuff to fight against things that make sense, such as voter ID, and all the tight election stuff that you would need. We have obviously Kemp and the Roethlisberger in Georgia. These are rhinos that have been selected by the selection machines. And then you take, and that's Venezuela and U.S. 70 other countries. 70. For 20 years. It's not like they just started doing this the last few years. 2020. They had been doing it for 15 years. Before that. 15 years. You see what happened to our society why it's become so non-Christian and anti-white, completely progressive, now pushing socialism. And that affects all 7 mountains of influence, our education system, our arts and entertainment, everything, because all the people that are selected, support the globalist empire. And then you add the Epstein bribery stuff in there, and and Diddy bribery stuff in there. It all comes together. If you can't get control of them via selection machines, then you get control of them by bribing them or compromising them. Exposing all this to the public and holding all these involved accountable will be the key. The battle for truth is spiritual, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over the present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. That's Ephesians 6:12, guys. This is a spiritual war. And we've got to get our conservative base of black-pilled people who think they're smarter than Trump, and those with Israel derangement syndrome, to get back on track. Do not let the enemy make you anti-Trump, anti-voting. Once we get this cleaned up, we need to be out voting, not doing what Candace Owens says. Maduro's fall is a sign that God is moving, exposing lies, vindicating the faithful, and calling us to occupy until he comes. Stand firm, pray fervently, share this message widely, and never back down. If God is for us, who can be against us? That's Romans 8:31. The victory belongs to the Lord, and he is giving it to his people in this hour. So I know most of you are strong believers, prayer warriors. Get this message out, guys. We have got to unite around eliminating the selection machines. That's what Mike Lindell's been trying to do for 5 years, and they've done everything to destroy him. Now we have the facts. We have massive amounts of evidence. And we got silly people fighting Trump every step of the way. And that's what I'm asking you guys to do. Let's get this information out. Let's make sure we understand that this is a spiritual war, and all those people that think they're smarter than Trump, all those people that black-pilled and think Trump is controlled by Israel, and all the people with Israel derangement syndrome. It's the election fraud, stupid. That's what we need to say to them, okay? Probably don't use those words. Those probably aren't the kindest words. It was just what came to mind when I was writing the blog, right? All right, there is some other news I want to go through. So let's get to that, because there's some exciting things happening that I think we need to cover as well. So let's get into some of that. Here we go. Look at this. Net approval on the detention of Nicolas Maduro by the U.S. and Latin America. Look at this. So Costa Rica is plus 80. They understand all the corruption that's going on. Colombia knows what their country's taken over by a dictator. They're plus 67. Peru plus 63, plus 62 in Chile. These are, and you can just see if we come back down here. These are people that favor Maduro being gone, right? You got Costa Rica and Chile and Colombia and Panama and Peru and Argentina and Ecuador. And the closer you get to the United States, the less and less support it gets. People against it are like Mexico and Ecuador. It's kind of interesting, but the whole plus, you can just see massive support for taking Maduro out. People knew that they starved their people, 90% poverty, 8 million people displaced, many of them here in the U.S. Here's Trump saying California under Gavin Newsom. California Gavin Newsom is more corrupt than Minnesota, if that's possible. The fraud investigation of California has begun. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. Isn't that interesting? So these are selected people. This all comes back to the voting machines, guys. This all comes back to the selection machines. Tim Walz, selection machines. Today, the Trump administration is proud to announce the United States of America's childhood vaccination schedule. This is huge. Woo! Now I'm going to blow this up for you guys can see this better on your mobiles. Okay, here it goes. The Trump administration is proud to announce the United States of America updated child vaccine schedule. Finally! This schedule is rooted in the gold standard of science and widely agreed upon scientists and experts all over the world. Effective today, America will no longer require 72 jabs for our beautiful, healthy children. We're moving to a far more reasonable schedule where all children will only be recommended to receive vaccinations for 11 of the most serious and dangerous diseases. This is still an issue. I understand. Those of you who really understand vaccines. But 11 is sure better than 72, guys. Parents can still choose to give their children all the vaccinations if they wish, if they're stupid enough. But that's what the mainstream media, the Pediatrics Association, the evil medical cartel are going to try to do. All right? That's the scary part. Parents can still choose to give their children all the vaccinations if they wish, and they will still be covered by insurance. That is the whole medical cartel. That is sad. It's like if you want to go buy something that you really need for your body, like vitamin C and vitamin D, maybe some zinc. Insurance pays $0. But you go get a big pharma medicine and it pays all of it, or you pay 72 cents or something, right? And then they charge the insurance companies like $600 for it. It's complete medical fraud going on in our country. That's the next battle we have. However, this updated schedule finally aligns with the United States with other development nations around the world. Congratulations to HH Secretary Bobby Kennedy, CDC Acting Director Jim O'Neill, FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, CMS Administrator Dr. Oz, NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya, and all of the medical experts and professionals who worked very hard to make this happen. Many Americans, especially the Maha Moms, have been praying for these common sense reforms for many years. And here's I like this graphic. Let me bring this back down so you can see the graphic. This talks about the 11 injections versus the 72 injections. Right? This is the Europe, and so they're basically doing what Europe's doing with the 11 injections. This just shows you how the medical cartel in the United States specifically was targeting the destruction of our people. That and let me blow this out a little bit more so you can see this is talking about United States versus European countries. This graphic right here shows you the medical cartels. And again, how did the pharmacies get so powerful? The selection machines. Okay? and then the money starts piling in based upon the human trafficking and the drug trafficking. And then all of a sudden the big pharma medicine gets all this money. Then they can take over all the regulators. And they captured the FDA. They captured the NIH. They captured until RFK got in there. And he hasn't moved as fast as people want, but he's in the viper's nest, guys. The viper's nest of those 72 injections. Beautiful day. Beautiful day. Woo! We had a great year so far, right? I don't know if you've seen silver hit 81 today, right? It's like, guys, I was telling you about this when it was 22 or lower, right? And but it's not over. It's not over. It's the most suppressed metal still. It's out of inventory. Guys, I still suggest you call Kirk Elliott. Understand what's going on here. Get out of the fiat system. Get out. Do not have ETFs. No paper. No paper for gold or silver. That won't do you any good. So for every ounce of silver we have, there's like 300 ounces of paper on that 1 ounce. Do you understand that? That means eventually all the paper contracts are not going to honor the price of the physical going up. You need to have physical silver. Physical silver is what you want. Get it before you can't ever. Right? And that's why I talk about it. I think I have it right here. This is Kirk Elliott's number, 720-605-3900. Just get a free consultation from him. Understand how to protect your IRAs and your wealth, your fiat. If you have fiat currency, a bunch of money in the bank, understand what you could do with precious metals. 720-605-3900. Tell them Rick B2T sent you. That's vital. You're going to see right here, I'm going to refresh this, 82.49. That's an all-time high, guys. As we're speaking here, it was 81 something. 82.49. That's an all-time high. And this is nothing compared to what it's going to do. I'm telling you, once the Babylonian financial system dies and we go to the gold standard, this is nothing. And plus, and you have that physical. Do not get ETFs. Don't get paper. Right? That's what. And don't get rare coins that the seller of the broker is making 50% margins. You're not going to make that 50% margin up. You may eventually, but go get the bullion that Kirk Elliott sells you, right? So you can just see if this is the last 6 months. It's crazy. So 6 months ago, silver was at I don't know. Can't read that without my glasses. Let's see. Silver was at 36.20 6 months ago. Okay, 36.20. Now it is at 82. Pretty crazy. 82.49. And what's crazy is if you just look at some November and December, if you look at the last 2 months, you'll see that it went from 47 all the way to what is now 82. Right? That's just showing you that the physical is running out. And the paper people know they can't cover them, and all the banks that had the shorts can't cover their shorts. So the banks are hurting, and the banks aren't going to go broke, but it's going to keep them from being able to manipulate this down. So wow, this is what an exciting time to be alive. Woo! All right, let's get to some other portions of this I wanted to get to. See where I was here. That's Get Governor Newsom. There's a beautiful news about that. Here's Roger Stone saying On January 5th, I spoke to a legally permitted rally before the U.S. Supreme Court where I renounced violence. Why doesn't MSNBC show you this? So here's Roger Stone talking against it. So there's all these people thinking that Roger Stone was all against was coordinating with Flynn to be part of the takedown of the false flag of January 6th. It's 5-year anniversary, guys. If you really just look at the details of this, I know there's others that think that Flynn and Stone were directly related to that. I'm not sure about that. What I am sure about is the FBI and the government did a false flag to cover up the stolen election of November 3rd, 2020. That's one thing we can completely be sure of. We talked about Trump saying that Gavin Newsom's more corrupt than Minnesota. That is going to be funny. So Trump is basically saying, why do you think he's saying this? That we're going to have an epic midterm victory. Because we're not going to have the selection machines. Just think what happens. Can you tell what the theme of this episode is? It's right. It's about the selection machines. Yeah. That's the beautiful part. All right. I haven't been looking very good at the comments, guys, to see what you guys have been saying. Pretty cool. Thank you guys for being on. I even see some cool people on the YouTube channel as well as a Rumble channel here. But it's interesting that Trump is talking about this. Let's listen to a little bit about what Trump says here. See if I can get this sound going here. Here we go.
Midterm victory. So together we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we're going to make history and break records with the epic midterm victory that we're going to pull off. It just doesn't seem to happen for people that win the presidency. It's an amazing phenomenon. You know, you win the presidency, and we sure as hell are having a successful presidency, I will say that. But even if it's a successful presidency, there's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win. I don't know what it is. There's something psychological, like you vote against. You can win by a lot. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. So you're all brilliant people. Most of you are in this business longer than me. That makes me smarter than you. Because look where I am, right? No, it doesn't. But I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy. They don't. They have horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious.
So you can see, obviously, what Satan would want right now. He'd want division in the MAGA movement. He'd want people to become black-pilled and not care and not vote. Become Israel derangement syndrome and not vote like Candace Owens is telling you to do. To think you're smarter than Trump and you're frustrated with him and not show up at the ballot box. It's exactly what the enemy wants. And man, we have all over the conservative movement. Guys, to defeat this enemy, we need to come together. So get this word out. Get this word out about this election fraud and how they took this over and destroyed 72 countries. Jasmine Crockett says, F you to the Supreme Court over Texas redistricting. I'm not going to play her swearing, but basically she's frustrated. So now she's going to run for Senate because she can't win her district because it doesn't have this little bubble in there that was really jerry-rigged for a Democrat, right? That's not happening anymore, the new Texas map. So she is not happy about that. The DOJ is opening a criminal probe to Tim Walz. Woo! No kidding. Boy, that's a beautiful video. I'm sure most of you have seen that, where all these the Somali fraud is just absolutely crazy, and that's why MTG was basically saying that we're going to have a huge revolt against income taxes on April 15th. So we need to clean this up quick. Sanctioned oil tankers try a mass run at the U.S. blockade of Venezuela. So basically they had 4 boats that were like supposed to go out. At the same time, the ones that were legal going out, the 15 illegal ones all go at the same time to try to overwhelm the blockade. And so they're out there, and the U.S. is tracking these 15 sanctioned oil tankers right now. So this war is still going on, right? It's going to be really interesting. I ended Tim Walz, so the YouTuber who did this. It's big saying the YouTuber who exposed Somali fraud takes victory lap after governor ends re-election bid. So there he is. Just this is the guy that did all the work, but this YouTuber is the one that broke it, Nick Shirley, which is really interesting. Nice to see fraud, Doge fighting this fraud and getting rid of USAID, which was really the way they would have funded riots, like all they did with in Minnesota with all the riots in the summer of 2020, right? So that was why that was attacked first, I believe, getting rid of a lot of these gang members that were brought into the country over the last 4 years. So quite exciting to see this all being nixed. Here's a Hilton axes the hotel from their systems after video shows them continuing to ban DHS and ICE agents. So you basically have this liberal that owns one of the Hilton hotels. I think it was one of these called Hampton Inns. It was an Hampton Inn that was part of the Hilton hotel system, and they took their franchise away because they wouldn't let DHS and ICE people in there. Isn't that interesting? Some Democrats seem to back off prospects of another shutdown as bipartisan spending bill drops. So this will be interesting too. We're obviously overspending. I believe Trump has a plan to crash our system, that's the Babylonian system, and bring us into either a quantum financial system or the new reset system that's not the globalist reset. That could be bumpy as we go forward. That's why having physical assets like silver is pretty critical, as we've talked about. Again, I was showing 8106, but the latest update is 8250. Let me refresh that. 8248. Wow, all-time high, guys, right there. And this is just the beginning. Again, the 30, 60, 100 fold, I believe, is what's going to happen there. That's why I keep telling you guys to make sure you have physical silver, not paper, right? That's important. And get your free consultation from Kirk at 720-605-3900. Tell him Rick B2T sent you. You get prioritized. 720-605-3900. Guys, we are live on 3 24/7 channels right now. They're all going because it's 24/7, right? We got the Feed Faith and Freedom. I call it the Red Pill channel, right? The Faith and Freedom 24/7. And you have Biohackingville, which is basically biohacking tricks and about believe, be it, biohack, and become. And anyway, the Growing Your Faith, all live right now, and we've now all put them on Rumble channels as well. So you can get these in basically 9 different places now, right? You can get them at all these channels on Rumble, but more importantly is we're amplifying people to a web app called faithandfreedom.tv, and then you can go to the other platforms such as all your TV and your mobile phone. That includes your Roku, your Fire TV. So if you have a Roku or a Fire TV, make sure you download faithandfreedom.tv. Right, Faith and Freedom with faith with the N, freedom is how you'll find it. Faith with the N, freedom. Download those apps on your mobile phone and your TV, right? And you'll have access to all 3 of those 24/7 channels and thousands of on-demand videos. In fact, we have exclusive content that we have here when I'm interviewing people from, you got 107 latest videos are going up there as well, and you'll enjoy, and just tons of content here. Again, thousands of videos, even some what we call freedom films and documentaries. About 70% of this is absolutely free. So get those apps down, and all 3 of those 24/7 channels. If you look at most of the content, it's like 90% of the content is free because of the 7x24s, right? So make sure you have that downloaded on your apps. And with that, guys, we're going to wrap her up here. Just thank you for taking the time with me today on the Blessed Teach Show. It's a pleasure. What we're going to do now, because of that 24/7 channel, there's a new thing in Rumble called Raids, RAIDS. So basically, I at the end of this, I can send you all to the 24/7 channel. It's kind of cool. And you can opt out if you don't want to go there. But as this video ends, it's just going to push you guys right to the 24/7 channel. People don't know where it is on Rumble. Well, now you will. Real easy. So all of you that are on here right now, what I do is I'm going to go to I say /raid space, and then I just copied the 24/7 channel into that. And so there it is right here. Here's the 24/7 channel. And so you guys will see this on your comments on Rumble. Those of you on Rumble, this is kind of a fun thing. This is the first time I've done this live on a show. But when I go like this and hit enter, and I confirm this raid, you guys should see something on your screen that says, "Hey, we're moving over there." But God bless y'all. We'll see you tomorrow night, and we've got Word and Worship tomorrow night. We're going to be going over day 7 of the Trinity. God bless y'all, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.
Well, it looks like I put the wrong raid thing in there. That's silly. Silly me. I have to wait like 7 or 8 minutes to actually do the correct raid. I sent it to this channel. So you would come right back to this channel. So I'm gonna wait a little bit here and go over a few more pieces of information. So let's get back into a little bit of stuff. I'm gonna go to my page right here on and get this raid that works so we can see how. So I'm gonna go to my X account and go to my page here. This is where I put a lot of stuff. So here's my X account. If you guys can't see that, you can see it's live right now because we are live, right? And again, it's Blessed to Teach, blessed with the number 2 teach on X, right? And this shows B2T show live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 p.m. CST. Those are the times I for sure go live. Tuesday's going to be iffy based on going forward as I run the 7x24 networks, right? At Faith and Freedom TV. This has a link to this Faith and Freedom TV.live will get you right to where I was trying to get you to. That's one way you can get there right now without having to wait for me. And then this, what I've linked here is a 10, what they call a thread that talks all about this network, right? And everything. It's kind of fun. So not only do we have the live now, Faith and Freedom Live, again, we have a sister channel that is kind of a backup channel. faithandfreedom.tv is another channel, or another X. But that sister is another X handle. You can download the apps at this app list thing. You'll see faithandfreedom.tv/app #app_list. So that is another place. Again, you can get and download right to your mobile phones. And here's the whole thread that we're talking about here. Now we go live, as we know, as you guys are on this channel. At the links that are there. The third thing talks about exclusive and on demand. So again, we're going to be thousands of videos, Bible studies. If you go to the faithandfreedom.live or etc. So we're gonna. That's what this channel does. Empowers Christian patriots with truth. You know that. The fourth thing talks about the TV apps, right? And that's where you can have Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, as well as iOS and Android mobile. Again, go to that app list. You'll do that, and that gets you that right into the web app, which is awesome, as well as have it on your TV and phone. And there's 3 live channels, which I was talking about. The Red Pill channel, Faith and Freedom TV. You can get there at faithandfreedom.live, faithandfreedom.live. Health and Biohackingville TV 24/7. That's biohackingville.live. And then you got Faith, which is Growing Your Faith 24/7, which is growingyourfaith.live. But you'll have all these links again if you go to my X, which is Blessed Teach, x.com. We'll show you all these. And again, those are the 3 live channels. And you see this thread, 6 of 10 on the thread talks about the Red Pill channel in more detail. That biblical teachings, freedom news, worship music, prophetic insights, pharma-free health tips, Christian films and links. So it's like the Biohackingville and the Growing with Faith together with the news that we do. A lot of great people there are on that. That is the Faith and Freedom TV 24/7. The Biohackingville TV is fun. This has got the Sherry Tenpennies, the Dr. Artists and the Artist family on there with their stuff. The Biohackingville podcast that my brother does. You have just 24/7 biohacking trips, right? That is something, again, that's biohackingville.live. Again, you can get that on your phone and TVs as well. And then the Growing Your Faith is a channel focused on faith, obviously. That's that is you can get there. And you can also, from a community perspective, go to our Backstage, blessedteach.com Backstage. You'll see that on this thread as well. Neighborhood Social is another place that we get together, which is kind of cool. Telegram, TME, Faith and Freedom TV, and a bunch more. Our websites, blessedteach.com, and again, the neighborhood.social, as well as faithandfreedom.tv are kind of the main places you'll find us. This is a little look at the neighborhood.social there. But why we're here, to empower you with faith, freedom, and uncensored biblical perspective on news, prophecy, and health. No algorithms, silencing us. Your support keeps it growing. Subscribe on Rumble, download, share with Patriots. And you can, again, watch all these different links that we have here. So that's a little 10-part thread with all the links of everything that this ministry has going on. I think you guys might enjoy that. It's the first thing I want to show you. Then we're doing a lot of shorts on Rumble, TikTok, YouTube, and here on X as well, and of some of our great patrons. Like here's the Resistance Chicks, getting very good views on some of these shorts. This is the show notes that I'm starting to post here as well. Again, just beautiful things, and this is us live right now that I'm showing you right now. You can see 5 people are watching on X. Here you see the this is my announcements. I want to come back here. There's a silver going up to $81. Another short here of when God gives me some words. That's been really empowering. And here's things about Sheila Holmes. I'm going to go to a few more new things that we haven't covered, because there's a lot of shorts and stuff right here. Here is, look at this, 1931. Dr. Odo Warburg wins the Nobel Peace Prize for discovering cancer cells cannot survive without glucose. They're glucose dependent. This is why sugar is poison. It creates cancer cells in you guys, right? So sugar is just something we all got to limit as much as possible. Suggests depriving cancer cells of glucose might treat cancer. Warburg purpose testing therapeutic ketosis. Cancer cells need glucose. Healthy cells run on ketones. This hypothesis is brilliant. Clinical trials should begin immediately. They don't. Why? Well, because the chemotherapy research is exploding. Pharmaceutical companies can patent chemotherapy drugs. They cannot patent stop eating sugar. Right? So anyway, this is another thing that I'll put this in the show notes as well. Guys, I'm going to click on that. See if I've got enough where I can do the raid on the right one now. Let's see. All right, looks like I still got a couple more minutes to go, so I'll go through another post or two here before I try to do this raid for the first time. Bummer that I sent you guys to the wrong one. I've written a deeper dive into the science of how ketosis starves cancer and should be considered at least an adjunct to cancer treatment. There's a whole article here about that and cancer treatment, which is kind of awesome. Here's General Michael Flynn saying this demands wide dissemination. So what he's talking about here is a damning email obtained by King Solomon through the Freedom of Information Act. Let's listen to John Solomon here. It's interesting.
A short while ago, Just the News obtained this email. This is a very important email. It comes from the former CIA director, Mike Morrell. Yes, the guy that organized that letter from the 51 intelligence professionals who tried to fake you into thinking that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation when it wasn't. It is between him and John Brennan, one of the signatories. You know who John Brennan is? He was Obama's CIA director, right? He's the guy that told Obama, hey, Hillary Clinton is doing a dirty trick on Donald Trump called Russia collusion. Well, this is just before the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Hunter Biden's laptop is flinging out there. This is what Mike Morrell, former CIA director, tells his successor, John Brennan. Hey, sign this letter because I'm, quote, trying to give the campaign, particularly during the debate on Thursday, a talking point to push back on Trump on this issue. A man with a security clearance, a man with the title of CIA director, knew that he wasn't creating an intelligence product, a Merrick civic duty with 51 people. He was trying to create a political moment. Damning evidence. We'll try to find out if Congress has this letter, but this is a very important piece. It is the ultimate proof that what went out on that letter was a political dirty trick coordinated with the Biden campaign. A short while.
That's all happening. That's all happening. All right, guys. I just put the rating into Rumble Rants. God bless you guys. And we'll catch you next time.